What's up YouTube, Dow here from War Games, bringing you today a rogue profile, and that is of course going to be Chaos Thunder Dragons. Now, what I've actually done with this deck is there's so many different variations. I wanted to make this like a 60 card deck, and if you were to bump it up to a 60 card deck, you'd play more Chaos cards. I would personally play the Alistair engine, like the Invoked engine, because one thing that this deck currently, right now, will struggle against is something like Draw and Lock Bird, which is very, very prominent in the meta, and the Biru. They're two very big threats. The Invocation engine or the Alistair engine kind of help you deal with early on. So until we have a way of completely knocking those out, that's two of the deck's biggest weaknesses. But what I've done is I've spiced some bits together. I've kind of used my old list with the Nemesis because I really, really like them. I think what I like about them so much is that they just don't stop. Like, if you get the Thunders with the Nemesis, like, you just constantly keep going. You constantly link climb. And I really, really like Ishatos and Protoss because I think they're so good, especially when you know what your opponent's playing. So with all that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Now, let's go through today's profile of Thunder Dragons. If this gets at least 50 likes, I will do a full combo test hand video for you guys as well. So, it's all going to be pretty cookie cutter straightforward on this, but you've got triple Thunder Dragon Raw, alongside his brother, triple Thunder Dragon Dark, alongside their other original bigger brother, triple Thunder Dragon, and then of course you've got the one Thunder Dragon Hawk. Now, obviously, all of these have utilities. The whole idea is that you're supposed to usually go Raw into Dark into Thunder Dragon Fusion. Thunder Dragon obviously gives that ability to discard pop with Titan multiple times, which is really, really good. And then you've got the little baby of the group, I suppose, and that's double Thunder Dragon Matrix. Now, Thunder Dragon Matrix is actually really important because you need to make sure that you either have a Dark or a Matrix in your hand when you make Titan go in. Oh, take the camera out. When you make Titan go in going first, because these are the only two that are quick effects. So they're the only two that allow you to ditch them and then disrupt with Titan. Hawk is there to try and fix your hands, but also one of them ones that you can ditch to bring one of the Thunder Dragons back, meaning that it gives you turn 2 plays and just allows you to maintain your resources furthermore. So you see that we've got 12 Thunder Dragon cards or Thunder Dragon monsters within the deck, and these are pretty much the core component of this. Now, if you wanted to play, like, I don't know, Rocket Chaos or Chaos Rocket and anything like this, then these 12 cards are interchangeable. This is kind of what makes the deck a Thunder Dragon or the Chaos Thunder version. Then moving on to the utility cards that are just your normal summon cards. These are the ones that you kind of that help, of course, Thunders out. And we've got double Lufa Lupine and double Batteryman Solar. Now, I haven't actually set myself on these as yet. So, Lupine is amazing if you have Thunder Dragon Dark in hand. Raw, sorry, because then obviously you normal summon Lupine. Lupine banishes Dark as Chainlink 1, and then you get to, or as its effect, and then even if they do stop that, you still have the effect of Dark, Raw to go through, and Raw will then banish Dark and get you a Thunder Dragon Fusion, or a Hawk, or whatever you need, and already you're setting yourself up for the further plays. Obviously, it's a Dark as well, so it's a very easy allure target. Most of these are the ones you want to be normal summoning most, which is why an Alistair and Invoked engine really work, because your normal summon isn't, like, it's important, but these just utilize the rest of the Thunder engine, whereas if you put another normal summon engine in the Invocation, you can still rely on your special summon abilities of the Protoss, Nemesis Flag, and of course Nemesis Corridor to kind of help you extend further while you're being protected by Macabre. Now, obviously, Batteryman Solar, ditch a Thunder, and then the idea is if you've got a Chaos card, you're going to be banishing said Thunder, getting the effect off of that, and then Batteryman Solar is going to produce you another body on board for pretty much free. So that's the initial kind of idea behind these 4 cards here. Again, these are specific to the Thunders, in my opinion, so if you're not going to play the Thunder engine, you can take that out. Then the Nemesis engine. Now, the second this engine came out, I fell in love with it. Absolutely love it. Now, I keep it as a minimal engine of triple Nemesis Flag and the one at current Ishatos. So, Nemesis, Flag, and Corridor. You target a banished monster, which is a shame if it was banished card, broken. You put it back into the deck, and then you get to special summon this card. Corridor allows you to add back one of your banished Nemesis monsters. So if you banish Flag off of Shatos, you get to add it back. Whereas Flag just lets you add any of Corridor or Shatos from your deck to your hand. Now, Shatos is the type one, so like Thunder, Pyro, Spellcaster, anything. So Ishatos and Protoss is pretty much the same, but Ishatos is type, so you have to banish 3 different types from your graveyard, special summon it. It can't be normal summoned or set, it must be special summoned from the hand. And what you can do is, it can't be destroyed by card effect. You can declare one monster type that is on the field. Destroy all monsters on the field with that type, and until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that type. Only use the effect once per turn. So the idea is, behind this particular build, and I'll show you the engine once we get to it, is that you're going to be getting into a Shatos. Shatos is your game ender. It is basically Thunder's version of Vanities and VFD. Because behind that, what you kind of want to do is you want to be able to go, cool, summon out a Shatos, put it, have Reaperdonkus point to it. Reaperdonkus can make a Shatos anything. So if you know what your opponent's playing, you call that. Then you use a Shatos effect to technically destroy itself, but because it can't be destroyed by card effect, it doesn't get destroyed. And then it means your opponent cannot special summon monsters of the type declared. So exactly in these scenarios, if you go up against Zoo Eldritch, you can either call Zombie, or of course you can call Beast Warriors. If you're up against Drytrons, you call Machines, and if you're up against Virtual Worlds, you can call, they're a little bit difficult, but you can call like mainly Psychics on those ones. Or if you really don't want VFD coming out, you can try and hit them there. But the idea is you want to stop Lulu using and abusing. Now, obviously with Protoss, it's all about attribute. So you would call like Lights for Drytrons, Earths or Lights for Zoo Eldritch, and then you would probably call Wind or Earth for the Virtual Worlds, which is why I think Shatos is a little bit better, because it's a little bit more generic. If a deck is built specific with certain things as well, I mean, this can hit any Dogmatika engine because you call spellcasters, and it really helps. And being a 3k beater as well makes it a very difficult boss monster to get past. And again, that's why I really like this engine. This engine can be taken out if you want to go for a 60 card engine, or you want to change it out. But again, I just really like this. It is mainly going first, and the one big disadvantage, I would still say play the Flags and the one Corridor as just 3 extenders if you want to put this in your side. And then once you know what your opponent's playing, you can put this in your side and off you go. But what this also does is it can be used and abused going second, because if your opponent puts a full board of a particular type on there, you can bring this guy out, use the effect, and you don't even need to use Reaperdonkus. You just nuke their board, and then you just go from there. So really good utility and really good power plays. Then for the Chaos cards, now we only play a couple of one-offs. We've got the one Chaos Creator, the one Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, the one Black Dragon Collapse, and the one White Wyvern Buster. Now, these two are insane. I was playing around with Chaos Valkyria, but it's just not that great. Like, it's good if you want to go for the rank 4s, but because of the other engine that I'm playing in this deck, what you actually want to do is you want to use your Chaos monsters as your boss monsters. So, I'll surprise it now. There you go. The other engine is Dogmatika. Now, you don't have to play Dogmatika engine. You can, exactly like I said, you can play the Alistair Invoked engine, you can play Dark Dragoon. This is like a 45 card deck. But the idea behind this is you want to use all your little ones, like your White Wyverns, your Flags, your Corridors, and even your Thunder Dragons to link climb higher and get into Appaloosa to protect yourself. Then what you do is you introduce the Dogmatikas. And by introducing the Dear Servant, it can bring any card from your extra deck, put it into the graveyard, which provides more materials for Legionnaire, Chaos Creator, and of course Ishatos. And then the idea behind that is you're going to fill up your graveyard, whether you're using Dear Servant, whether you're going to use Maximus, however you want to get the graveyard represented. You're then going to be able to use and abuse that, and then kind of go, right, now that I've built my graveyard, not only is my Ecclesia going to give me the ability to Winder during my opponent's turn, plus I'm going to have the backup of the Trap if I want to, or Philidius. You're also then going to have the ability to go Legionnaire to rip a card from hand, or Chaos Creator to extend your board presence. And on top of that, you really want to go for a Shatos, and a Shatos is going to say, I'm going to call whatever I think you're playing, and you're not going to be able to play that, and then I'm going to Winder you as well, or Construct if I'm feeling more aggressive, and you're not going to be able to play from that point on. So it does give you a very powerful go first and second option, because what it kind of does allow you to do is if your opponent does draw you, if they do Nibiru you, you still have plays to go, which is why a lot of people play the Dragoon engine, because it's like, right, if my opponent stops everything, as long as I can get 2 monsters on the board, I'm going to get Dragoon out. Well, what I'm doing with this is I'm like, well, no matter what my opponent does, I actually want to abuse my graveyard more than anything, and I want to abuse my banish zone. So even if they clear my board, as long as I've got the way of getting my chaos monsters out, and you don't even need to use your normal summons. There's quite a few times that you can get, especially with the Nemesis flags and the corridors, there are times with the spells as well, that you're able to fill your graveyard up correctly without using your normal summon. So if they do Nibiru you and you do have an Ecclesia, you can just normal summon Ecclesia, and then you're able to just come back into the game because you set yourself up for your Chaos Monsters, and you can go from there. So we're going to play 4 of those. I was playing the Chaos Emperor Dragon, but I just wasn't using it as much. Like, both these cards, both the Chaos Creator and the Legionnaire, have utilities going first and second, whereas the Chaos Emperor Dragon is mainly for going second. So if you want to switch the deck up and be like, right, I'm only going to go second with this deck, then you can do that as well. Now, these aren't in the deck, but this is just like a little shout out of a couple of cards that I was considering putting in, is D-Shifter and D-Fissure. Now, the reason you would put these in, and these would be a very, very good side, is they are absolutely crazy against the meta right now. You got to keep in mind, more so the Shifter, but once you put so many hand traps, say, must be discarded to the graveyard, so then they just fizzle. Others are just discarded, so that's a bit of an issue. But with D-Shifter, it's an allure target, nice and easy. But once you drop this against your opponent, they can't be using their graveyard. So Drytrons pretty much die. Eldritch are not going to be able to get their traps triggered off during your turn. They might have a Zeus, which is fine, but then even with the Zeus, they've not been able to bring materials back. They're not going to be able to loot materials, and everything they send to the graveyard is just going to get banished. And then you look at Virtual Worlds as well. The spells that are going to the graveyard, the traps that are going to the graveyard, their monsters going to the graveyard, they're all going to get banished. And then with you can play under it because you don't mind your Thunder Dragons being banished. As long as you're able to send cards, you're just able to kind of fill up your banish zone. And then you use the... So you rely less on your Chaos Monsters, so you rely less on your Black Dragon Collapse. So what I would do is I would say I would take this engine out. So you'd put in like your standard hand traps against whatever you're playing. But then you take the Chaos engine out, put the D-Shifter engine in, because the D-Shifter is going to pretty much end your opponent's turn. Then all you're doing is you're just backing up your banish zone. And then you can start using the flag and the corridor, because you'll go flag, search out corridor, because now you're not going for a Shatos. And then you're going to go, right, okay, extend, extend, extend. And then you can go the full Nightmare combo of Phoenix, discard him, but it's going to get banished, which is fine. And then you're going to go and just kind of loop up and get into your boss monsters and kind of go, right, okay, I've pretty much won it from here. I've picked your board apart. Everything that I've picked apart is going to get banished. All my opponent's going to go, right, I'll have to hold on to these and hope you don't OTK me. And you're kind of moving from there. So this is a tech before I get into the Dogmatika engine. So it's actually within the deck. We've got triple Ecclesia, of course. Now, I'm playing the one Maximus, the one Philidius, and the one Wolverine. Now, arguably, Wolverine can be cut. No worries about that. So, like I said, it's a 45 card deck. So you can cut Wolverine, no worries. The reason I got Maximus in here, again, is the exact same reason I was talking about with... usually when you activate the Dogmatika engine, or mainly when you start with Ecclesia, you're not using your extra deck. A lot of people, that is it. So they're kind of like, right, okay, they're not using their extra deck. I'm going to expect an Ecclesia, maybe a Maximus, and then have to deal with a Winder next turn. Whereas you can spin this up. So Maximus can send 2 different types. So yes, if you're trying to set up the Shadow engine, you'll do that, and you'll be setting yourself up with spellcasters. But if not, Maximus can send any 2 cards that are going to be in no use to you later on in the game. So if you've already made, if you're not going to need to use Ishatos and you don't need to change its type, then obviously you put Reaperdonkus in the graveyard. And you're basically just setting your graveyard up with 3 different types, so you can then just go, right, okay, Protoss, Ishatos, and Ishatos is going to nuke the board. And then their opponents is not only are they locked under an Ishatos, they'll then be locked under a Construct that'll be aggressive, or a Winder being defensive, plus Ecclesia, plus Philidius, plus a Maximus that's going to pop anything else you put on board next turn. And keep in mind that Ishatos is a once per turn, so it means during your next turn, if they do put anything face up in attack, not that that would be a bit silly that they would, you would then go Ishatos and nuke it off from there. So again, I know the Dogmatika engine is expensive. You could arguably play it without the Dear Servant in this deck, and you could. The other thing about these is because they're lights, they help the Chaos engine out as well. So it is something for you to kind of consider. And if you wanted to go more Chaos heavy, you could play like BLS and stuff like that as well. Moving on to the spells, of course, we've got Triple Nadir 7. I know, crazy expensive. If you don't have them, don't worry. Like I said, this whole engine of the Dogmatikas can be swapped out for something else. This is just something that I hadn't seen many people doing, and the synergy between the two actually works out nicely. So, like I said, with the Nemesis, what it does and what it allows you to do is it allows you to produce Stronger monsters, it allows you to produce back row control, which the deck didn't previously have, because it was literally just, here's all my monsters, I've got really strong monsters, try and beat my monsters. Whereas now with the trap, and then with Ecclesia, it allows you to maintain some resource, it puts your some lights in the graveyard, it also puts you spellcasters in the graveyard, and then it basically allows your chaos to become what I would say a main phase 2 kind of aspect of the deck. And what I mean by that is like your first kind of phase, or what you do in your main phase, the first kind of bit is normal summons or extenders. Get into your link monsters, and then your middle phase would be, okay, this is where I'm going to use the Dogmatikas, and then the final phase is where you use the Chaos. Whereas in the other one, if you don't play Dogmatikas, you kind of go, here's everything, please don't stop me, and here's my boss monsters. So a lot more to think about. Triple Chaos Space, BEA, beautiful. Love this card. This also allows you to send your Dogmatikas as well. So because obviously your Dogmatikas are light, it gives you other access or other routes to get into your Chaos monsters. So if you open up like double Ecclesia, or if you open up like Fleedius and you've got access to the Wolverine as well, then you can kind of just send the Fleedius, the Wolverine will be able to bring that back and kind of go from there. Now, just got to check on the Wolverine. Yeah, so the good thing about the Wolverine is it can actually act as an additional extender. So if you were to open up, I know this is really not the best of examples, but if you were to open up this, then what you can do is you can go Chaos Space, send Fleedius, get you out your Dark Monster, banish Fleedius, do your thing. But then what you're allowed to do is once you link climb up and you put a link monster in the graveyard, you can then get Wolverine on board. So it gives you another extender, and it is also a level 8. So if you did want to go for level 8 like rank 8 plays, you can do that as well. Now I'm just checking, I don't believe it locks you in the extra deck. At your hand, when opponent's monster declares and tap me, no, so this one doesn't specifically lock you out of the extra deck. So this can be really, really nice. Now, obviously, by banishing Fleedius, you're not going to be able to add it back. But if you were to get another light in the graveyard, basically what you're doing with this little combo here is you're being able to add the Fleedius back to hand, get the Wolverine to the board, and then you've got Fleedius. So if you're going aggressive, Fleedius can then come down because you've got another Dogmatika, can negate something. When this attacks, this is going to go up to 25, this is going to go up to 3k, and you're just producing more boss monsters. And then even if you don't, you can just go, cool, overlay, and you've got rank 8s. Now, we don't play rank 8s in this deck because, again, it's just a different route of playing, but that does open up the door for you as well. Keeping in mind, if you were to put in like Thunder Dragon's Duo as well, you're bringing in more level 8s. True Law of Darkness. Now, I think when I was counting, I had like 13 darks or 11 darks in the deck. So it's really, really useful in the sense that you open up this with Thunder Dragon Raw or Dark, you're pretty much good to go. But if you don't, this can be a very, very risky card. So something to keep in mind, you do need some draw power. If you were going for the 60 card engine, that's where Desires comes in. And then we play 3 1-offs, Reasoning, Gold Sark, and Thunder Dragon Fusion. I did have this at 2, it was bricking so bad, so I've cut it down to 1. If at any point I feel that it needs to come back to 2, I will of course do so. Gold Sark is Gold Sark for this deck, and Reasoning is mad. You play 2s, 4s, 8s, I'm pretty sure there's like 7s in here somewhere as well, like 5s and 6s. So many different that this, unless your opponent gets stupidly lucky, is a free extender. It's literally just, hey, this is a special summon of any monster from my deck. And then 2 traps, you've got your Schism, and then you've got your Punishment. So, because you're relying on the Chaos monsters, because you're building up your board with all your powerful monsters turn 1, if you haven't already OTK'd your opponent, or you haven't locked them out, for them to have to deal with a Punishment, which is 9 times out of 10 probably going to send an Insta as well, and an Insta is just going to go, cool, pop 2, you're then going to be backing up with even more. And then you're going to be coming off the back of the Schism as well, and there's just so much more you kind of interact with your opponent that in the past, if I was to get like Dark Lord, it was like, ah, damn, yeah, cool. But whereas this, it's like, right, I Shatos you, even if I get Dark Lorded, I don't care, like, you're not playing. And then it's like, okay, even if I can't make a Shatos, if I get Dark Lorded, I'm going to Punishment, or I'm going to Schism, like, I'm still going to have plays to deal with what you're going to be presenting me with. So that's it for that lot there. Moving on to the extra deck, so of course we'll go over the fusions first. You start with this time 2 Thunder Dragon Titans. Now I'm not relying heavily on Titan in this particular build, which is why I don't need 3. I am going to recycle it consistently, and space in the extra deck is incredibly tight. Like, no word of a lie. It's just because you play so many different engines. But yeah, 2 Titans is more than enough. For the cards to be played out of, or using and abusing the Dogmatika engine, of course, we've got the 1 Apkaline, the 1 Winder, the 1 Construct, alongside the 1 Titaniclad and the 1 Elder Entity Inst. All of these, in my opinion, maybe less so Construct is probably the least one, but you still want it in here. are all necessary. They all produce their thing. So this lets you special summon Ecclesia in the end phase, or of course lets you add a Philidius or Wolverine, whichever one you want. This is obviously going to turn the punishment into a double pop, or Maximus into a pop one as well. Apocline gets you the Search of the Schism, and then you discard a card, so you're setting up your graveyard as well. Winder is obviously, you can't special summon, or you can special summon once. And then Construct is, if you are a special summon monster, I'm just going to kill you. Then onto the Link Monsters. Now, the Link Monsters is down to you, but these are the ones you kind of have to have. So, the Link Monsters you have to have are Link Karibo or a Link 1, because of those. There are those times when you're like, right, okay, cool. I've only got this Blackstone, or not the Blackstone, the Thunder Dragon Matrix. I need to get it into the graveyard because I've got Chaos Monster in hand, so I need to turn it into Link Karibo or Link Animal. So this is a must. One thing I haven't got in here is Striker Dragon, because I'm not relying on the extension from that card. Like, you don't, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen that you don't actually use it as extension. You just go, right, Chaos Dragon on board, and I just need to get rid of the Chaos Dragon to get me the other Chaos Dragon to help me get into a Link 2. Understandable. Again, space is really tight in this build, but like, the idea is that you shouldn't be put in that situation. IP Masquerina, really quite important. There are some times when you don't actually want to go into Reaperdonkus, and you actually need to go into a Link 2 first to put monsters in the board, put monsters in the graveyard to set up your Shatos play. So then you would use something else with IP to go into, Reaperdonkus. Then of course you've got your Nightmare package. So you got the one Cerberus, the one Phoenix, and of course the one Unicorn. Now with the package, so this is where we've got one more at the moment. So with the package, it's entirely up to you which one of these two you would cut. Probably going to be cutting Cerberus more so than anything, but both of these jobs can be fulfilled with Titan. And then it's up to you. If you cut one of these, then what you have space for is you have space for two boss monsters, being Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, and your access code. Now, obviously, your access code is going to use and abuse all of these. You've got Dark Earth, or another Earth there. So you've got two Earths, you've got 3 Darks, and then, of course, you've got the Fire off of this one there. Not to mention, with Appaloosa as well, you're going to get a Wind in there. But the idea behind these two cards is, again, you can link, getting into Soldier of Chaos, you can use, if you were to bring it out, Construct, you can use Philidius, you can use Wolverine, Maximus, you've got Titan as well, and then you've got obviously 2 Chaos Monsters in Levianeer and Chaos Creator. So you've actually got a lot of big monsters you can go into this. So this becomes more of a protective Link 3. So I'll show you the last one. Last one's Appaloosa. So the idea is first turn, second turn, second turn. So you shouldn't need both of these, but the idea is if it's a grind game, I'm going for this. If I'm going to OTK, I'm going to go for this. If I'm being defensive and going first, I'm going to go for this. So I've got all 3 options covered. Now, obviously, if you want to make it a rank 8 engine and you still want to use Dogmatikas, that's where you'll have to try and sacrifice and cut corners. Not cut corners, but kind of sacrifice areas on this one, because so Reaperdonkus is going to be doing for your Shatos, so it's must needed if you play that engine. If you don't play that engine, boom, it can be anything you want. IP Masquerina is a must. Link Karibo is a must to bring off the Matrix, but if you're like, nah, I'll never open up Matrix, I never need to do that, then personal preference, fine, more than welcome to do that. Out of these 3, I think you could easily probably cut the BLS or you cut the access code. If you cut the access code, it's a little bit easier to mess around with the Nightmares, because then you can go, right, okay, I don't think I need to worry on back row, so I'm going to get rid of that. Unicorn is a pretty much a must on this one, in my opinion. But straight away, you've unlocked 4 additional spaces. Technically 3, because obviously the BLS takes up an additional one. You've unlocked 3 additional spaces in your extra that you can then go, right, cool, these are the ones I want to use, these are the ones I'm going to use, and this is how much damage it's going to do to my opponent. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. Like I said, I messed around with this deck. I played around with it before as a 40-card version. I tried to make it a 60-card version. It kind of worked, but then, like, strangely enough, I was just seeing way too many of my normal summon monsters. Like, if you were to go for the 60-card version, you kind of want the Aloof Lupines and the Battery Mans in there, but then in the same time, you don't, because, like, in the 60-card version, I was opening up, like, Alistar, Meltdown, Lupine, and Battery Man. I was like, okay, so I've got 3 very good normal summon monsters that I don't want to normal summon. I only really want to go Alistar. So that's something that really still needed a lot of work to be done, which is why I have not profiled it for you. But this deck really works nicely. It's got a couple of backups in the sense, trying to take into consideration what happens if you get Drolled, what happens if you get Nibiru'd, and kind of playing it around that way. Now, in a format where Droll is so prominent, it's a little bit risky playing this deck, but then that's where, of course, D-Shifter and stuff like that comes in. So it's like, if I get Drolled, I'm still going to be able to set punishment, cause issues to my opponent, and I'm going to be able to drop a D-shifter. So there's a lot to keep in mind with that and a lot to keep working around. But for now, like I said, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. If you get this video up to at least 50 likes, I'll bring you a full test hand combo with this entire deck to show you the consistency and the power of this deck as well. But for now, as absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.